Yn y croeso I pawb aros, gofyn eisiau gofyn cwestiynau, Holly and Lena, since the ffilm wedi cael ei wneud. This is an opportunity for us to ask Darin questions about the film, about her experience. And we've all been incredibly moved, Darin, by watching the film. A dwi'n siŵr bydd pobl eisiau mynegu hynny.
Thank you. Thank you. First of all, thank you so much for everyone for being here. And I'm glad that it worked out and I'm able to talk to all of you and discuss the film with you.
So, falle a question cyntaf, I'll ask a question first, while people think of other questions. But what was the motivation, Darin, that made you want to write this film and produce
the
it?
motivation, actually, the motivation, I think it's because one of the reasons why I made this film is because I felt that there's absence of films that talk about 1948, and I felt there is a reason why, although it's really important, but it's missing in cinema, and cinema is a very important medium for people to learn about our history and about Palestine. But first of all, and the most important thing to me, that I wanted to tell a cinematic story. To make a cinematic film and share a humane story, because to me Farha could be anywhere and anytime. This story could happen to anyone, anywhere around the world, and that was the most important thing to me. When I heard about this girl, and she stayed with me since I was a child until I became an adult and a filmmaker, and I felt that there's a reason why I'm still thinking and this girl is still with me. And I felt this is a sign I need to share her story with the world. And I felt that I'm sure that many girls, many children around the world are something similar happened to them, not only in Palestine, but also because my grandparents are like Palestinians and my father was born in Palestine. I felt it's also like a duty that I need to tell this story.
Could you tell us a little bit about your own Palestinian roots and the story of your grandparents?
Yes, actually, my father was born in Palestine in 1948. He was only 6 months old when the Nakba happened, and he barely made it. He almost died back then, but they were able to save him and to take him, and they made it to Jordan. But I always heard about Palestine from my grandparents who lived there, who left their passports and everything, thinking that they will be back. So I always wondered, like, what's this place that everybody, when I was a child, what's this place that everybody talk about the smallest things about this place? It's like paradise. How, like, they kept talking about how beautiful it was. The places in the street where, like, I'm originally from, it's called Ramle. So I felt that I know this place. I never been to Palestine, of course, but like I feel it's like somehow in my blood, and this is why it's part of my identity and who I am. Also, my Syrian mother, my mother is Syrian, and I felt like I fell in love with Palestine because of my Syrian mother more than my Palestinian father, actually, because she traveled, like her father used to take them and travel the world, and she always told me when I was 7 or 8, I went to this magical place, Palestine and Jerusalem, and I can't forget the smell of this place and the smallest details about this place, and like she fell in love with this place since she was a child, and this also made me love it even more and be curious more about this place.
Thank you, Darin. can I ask people, is there somebody, so rhywun o'r cynulleidfa licio deud o'r peth, somebody else would like to say something or gofyn cwestiwn? Hwnnw'n cyfle. Yeah?
Palestine, from looking from where I am, Palestine looks like it's been abandoned by the world. Is that so?
Yes, I love this the use of words. Yes, it is abandoned, and this is why one of the reasons why I chose the room, because it's like everybody looking at what's happening and doing nothing. So it is unfortunately abandoned.
Yeah. Rhywun arall isio gofyn.
Well, you said it's based on a true story. How long was she there for in the room?
Actually, I never knew how many days exactly, because the real character Radiya met my mother when my mother was a child in Syria, and they talked about like she shared her story and what happened to her in this room, and my mother shared the story with me when I was a child. But I kept asking my mother questions. I really wanted to know more, but she didn't have all the answers. She couldn't remember how many days she was in. Yeah, and like what happened exactly with her, she couldn't remember. And this is why I felt maybe this is good for me as a filmmaker to like to see what's happening inside the room. Like, for example, the smallest details when she chooses to eat or to read or to pee. I mean, these details were created by me, and I had the space to do this. So yeah, I never knew the smallest details that I wanted.
Yeah. Yes.
What might you hope that the outside world could do or should do to rescue this abandoned land?
Like one of the, like for example, all of you being here today is a huge, like it's very big. So doing this, coming to watch a film about Palestine, learning about Palestine if you don't already know about it, and about the Nakba, talking about Palestine, and telling the world and telling people who don't know about the daily injustices that Palestinians suffer under the occupation. Like we can talk, I can make films, we can, like everyone can help and contribute. But if the world doesn't want to save Palestine, like, as you know, politics, and if like the world is like, it's the smallest things, I believe. As I said, like you caring and coming to watch the film, and you will leave, hopefully tell other people about this story, about this one girl of the 800,000 Palestinians that were forced into exile in 1948. And me making films and art, like a painter who does a painting. This is what we can do, I think.
Yeah, please. Yeah.
Following on one of your previous answers, when you were making the film, was particularly when Farha is in the room, did you go into it meaning for it to be entirely literal, or maybe also metaphorical or allegorical for something else?
I'm sorry, I think I couldn't hear well. The voice is low. Can you repeat the question, please, and closer to the camera?
Yeah, I think our questioner was asking, was the meaning of the film to be a literal meaning, or was there allegorical or metaphorical meanings that you wanted to convey?
No, actually, it's. I mean, I wanted people who thought, because they claimed that Palestine was a land without people, for people without a land, and I wanted people to know that it was a land with people that had lives and culture and history, So I wanted people to learn this and to see, like, people don't see Palestinians as humans. They see them as numbers. Like, we know how many Palestinians died today, you know? So I wanted them to see Palestinians as human beings and imagine Farha as their daughter. And this is what's happening now. Like, many people saying, yeah, we imagined if our daughter is in her place. So this is the main thing to me. But also, again, I wanted to make a cinematic piece, like shooting most of the film in one room was a challenge that I was attracted to and I wanted to do. So I wanted to tell the story, but in a very different way. Because when you talk about Palestine, or when you hear about Palestine, you always imagine specific images, like a refugee camp, poor people, like, and I wanted to show it in a different way.
And I think this has been very successful. Yes, please.
Certainly, the world has forgotten Palestine. But the Palestinians have not forgotten about Palestine.
Palestinians have not forgotten about Palestine.
Fighting, resisting, staying in Palestine. The neighbors of Palestine, Bilad al-Sham, have not forgotten Palestine. And the apartheid regime is falling apart and it will disappear. So we shouldn't all go be crying. We should be looking hopefully to the future of free Palestine.
Yeah. Yes, thank you.
You speak with experience of living in that part of the world, so thank you. Diolch.
I mean, they said that Golda Meir said the old will die and the young will forget. And this is not what's happening and what happened, because me, as like different generation, and I'm still talking about it. And the actress who acted, she was 14 or 15, and now she's part of this. And like the film is being screened in schools. So it's, people will not forget, hopefully, with a film like Farha and with us talking about it, about Palestine.
One more question. Yes.
Ie, diolch. Ga i ofyn i chi gyfeithu fi?
Ie, okay.
Bosib bod y cwestiwn braidd yn naif, os felly bydd hi. Ond ac yn gyntaf diolch, wrth gwrs, am cwestiwn ydy ynghylch, oes na dderbyniad i'r ffilm wedi bod yn rhitre'n ei hunan, ac os felly beth yw'r ymateb wedi bod?
So the question is asking, what has been has there been the film been shown in Israel itself, and what has the reception been for people from within Israel itself?
The film wasn't, actually it was screened in Palestine and in occupied Palestine. It was, but when the film was about to be on Netflix 2 days before the streaming of the film on Netflix worldwide, like an attack happened from Israel and Israeli officials end of November 2022, and there was an attack also on Netflix, and some film critics wrote about it, and they were really upset, saying that how dare you, like, create a Palestinian Anne Frank, something like that, and how dare you show the Israeli, the most moral army in the world, as monsters. So they were really upset about the film, and they're still, I'm sure, upset. Yeah, but I mean, this only, and I like, it's strange to me because this is only a small one story of many stories that happened back then. But this is why I chose, by the way, because to me less is more, and this is why I chose like to focus on this little girl and her journey, and to see everything from her eyes, to feel everything she's feeling, and witness and be part of her journey, because this is the most important thing, that when people feel, it's more important than reading or hearing news, or it's different when you feel something and live an experience, like with Farha.
Oh, thank you very, very much. One last question. Many of us live locally, and or some of us have traveled some distance, and we want to be part of somehow supporting the Palestinian cause in some way. And I think when we leave, if you want to leave your name and address, to be part of, because we haven't got an affiliation properly in the area yet with the Palestinian Solidarity Campaign, and that is something that with many of us have been involved in some way, but so the kind of actions that we have been involved in, we have had films before, but are there things, can you've expressed that we can just talk to other people, but have you any suggestions for more political or more organizational type of actions that we could take?
To be honest, I'm far from politics, and I don't know any political organizations. But what I said is, like, talking about Palestine, because this makes really change. Because, like, I don't know if you know or not, but they're stealing the smallest. They're still every day stealing the smallest things. They're stealing our culture, our heritage, the scarf, the kufiya, the black and white one. They're stealing it. They're saying it's Israeli. The hummus, the food, our traditional dishes, they're stealing it, them and saying that they're Israeli. So just telling people that this is, if you see a falafel shop, Israeli falafel shop, just tell people this is originally Palestinian. They're stealing our identity. Because I mean, these things matter. Because now some people don't know about it, they really believe it. And I think just by defending our heritage and our culture, our identity means a lot and will help a lot. It will create conversation.
Diolch, that's a dawa language. Diolch, Darin, Anthony, and thank you. And
thank you so much. And I love the language. I hope one day I can learn
it. Just to say, bydd na casgliad ar y ffordd allan hefyd. Bydd na, just yn y wythnos, pythefnos diwetha, mae 4 oedd wedi wneud yr action yn erbyn y Teledyne Factory sydd yn creu arfau sydd yn rhan o'r creu'r arfau sydd yn rhan o cadw'r Palestinian state yn y sefyllfa mai. So mae yna casgliad, mae'r 4 wedi bod yn carchar am 8-9 mis, a maen nhw'n newid dod allan ar tag, a mae yna costau, maen nhw wedi aberthu lot. So fydd na casgliad os di rhywun eisiau cyfrannu ar y ffordd allan. I was just saying that one of the reasons that brought us here today was because of the actions of 4 people who went into a factory in Teledyne where they are making parts of ammunition and circuit boards that are used in fighter jets that are used by Israel in Palestine. And there are 4 people who have been in prison until 2 weeks ago because of their actions. And they've just been released from prison on tag. So they're still serving their sentences and are facing quite a lot of financial difficulties. And so there is a collection on the way out if people want to contribute. They should board involved mewn unrhyw ffordd arall. There are other ways you want to be involved. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I just want to add that because it's important always to remember that Israel is not a country, it's an occupation. and Palestine is occupied since 1948 and still until today is occupied. It's an occupation, and one of the practices that of this occupation is apartheid. So let's also talk about this, that it's an occupation since 1948 until today.
Thank you. That was one of the questions of rhywun eisiau gofyn. Diolch. That's a very important place to be at. Diolch yn fawr iawn.
I really appreciate everyone in this room. Thank you so much for coming again.